Carlos, thanks for being here, man. Colorado Open's coming up. You played golf today. How was it out there today?
It was great.
Yeah.
It was great. Weather's a little more bearable than the Houston summers.
No kidding. We have no humidity here, Carlos.
That's right.
Welcome to. You're gonna have a bad hair day probably, but
yeah,
the golf's more fun.
Absolutely.
It might be 100 though while you're out there, but
happy to be here.
100 no humidity is a lot more fun. So while you're here, people who don't know you, you played on the PGA Tour for a while. Now you're a great GOLFTEC coach down in Houston. So what sort of stuff are you working on right now in your game? Because I know you have a tournament this week.
For me this week, it's going to be really about distance control.
Yeah.
With being at elevation and Houston being pretty much at sea level. It's going to be really about just controlling your distances and where your ball ends up from a target sense.
Yeah.
So starting lines and distance control. My ball doesn't curve a lot. So it's just going to be really important to be hitting some targets because the greens are big. We're at elevation, so the ball goes far.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, it's just a putting contest when it comes to
You're
the
going to win
tournaments.
that, though, aren't you?
Hopefully.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
yeah, I know. So I know a little bit about your game. We've talked about it some anyway, but do you hit your 3-wood driver high? Or
I would say mid. You
Mid?
know, I'm right around, call it 90 to 120 feet in the air.
Okay.
At a peak height. So I would say that's pretty mid to some of what the bombers are doing. But I don't spin the ball a lot, so
Okay.
you know, could come out of the air a little bit more this week than sea level.
Yeah, the elevation may not, well, you'll notice it, but it might not be the same as if you launched that low spin shot at 17.
Correct.
15. Okay, awesome. Are you practicing anything right now? Anything in your game?
Yeah, for me, I'm always practicing to hit a little baby draw
Okay.
on the range. I have a little baby fade, so I try to get some alignments at impact, setup, and the downswing to be a little more draw bias.
Okay.
So then at the start of the week, I can count on straight shots, and then it's just kind of a maintenance deal from Thursday to Sunday.
Yeah.
You know, seeing how much my ball flight changes throughout the week.
So you're using just little feels to help you calibrate the shot, and you know that if you do something, close your shoulders or whatever it is, or
Exactly.
get the shaft up, that you're more likely to draw.
Absolutely.
So just use that as you need to.
Yeah. I try to take the things that we do at GOLFTEC. You know, there are simple adjustments you can do from setup to, you know, how you turn in the downswing, where the shaft is at impact.
Yeah, and this
Club face.
doesn't need to be like a GOLFTEC commercial either, but
Yeah.
I know that you've learned a few things from being
Yeah.
a coach now.
Absolutely.
Can you demonstrate one of those feels or two of those feels for, like the average person might be watching this saying, well, I hit all these little fades. And
Yeah.
you're talking about how if you want to straighten that out,
Yeah.
take some of that curve off, what do you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, the easiest thing is to just make sure that your alignments or your shoulder turns and your hip turns or your alignments at address are just nice and squared. If anything, for a little draw, a little close would be okay too. So,
Yeah.
you know, when I'm setting up here, I'm going to use this as kind of my straight target line right there. I'm going to set up pretty square to it in terms of my alignment, but then I'm going to close everything down just a little bit to kind of get me in a little more draw bias.
So it's turning yourself like towards me, essentially.
Exactly.
5-10 degrees. that
Yep.
Aims your swing direction further this way.
Correct. Yeah, it's just going to skew my club path and my swing direction a little more into out just from setup.
Well, now the pressure's on to actually draw one.
All right,
So
here we
show
go.
everybody how you normally hit those little draws.
Mm-hmm.
So that little bit more closed is the start at address to actually, while people don't necessarily think about it like that, everything you do at address is aiming your swing direction in some way. So if you wanted to hit a bunker shot, show everybody how you'd set up to hit like a greenside bunker.
Yeah, for me, I'd kind of get pretty squared, a little open.
Yeah, a little open with the stance, your shoulders are more open, your hips are more open.
Correct.
That's aiming your swing direction to the left.
Exactly.
A lot of people come in to take golf lessons with you and already do that too much.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good way to set up the slice. But if you don't want to do that, this is how you would do it. So this one started really straight. It started 0.3 of a degree to the right and curved just a little bit. So you demoed exactly how to do that.
Yeah, I would like that ball to start a little bit more right in my world, but yes, that would be a draw.
All right, so let's do one more. I know you want to push it and draw.
Correct.
What do you do different on the next swing to make sure the ball pushes but still curves?
So, you know, the biggest thing obviously is just kind of what the club face did. So just depending on how much that ball curved, you know, if I did have that face for me a little bit more open, it probably would go pretty straight. It'd be almost like a push because that ball didn't curve that much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to feel just a little bit more square at impact now. So I did the first adjustment by just setup, but
Yep.
now I'm going to get into more of a dynamic feel. What is for me just kind of what do I feel at impact? Do I
Yeah.
feel more closed? Do I feel more open?
Sure. So on this one, tell me again, you're going to feel more closed or open on this
Correct.
one?
I'm going to feel more closed on this one for a draw.
Okay. Do you ever mess around with the club face at address, or do you feel like you always aim at the same?
I kind of aim at the same. I don't mess with the club face. I set it up on the heel. My face is open at address.
If you're going to hit that shot, that's what you want to do.
Yeah, but it's for me, I don't mess around with that. I do mess around though where my ball starts, call it 3 feet in front of me. So
Okay.
I want to make sure that my ball is starting where I want it to.
So
always.
elaborate on that. You just started looking at a spot you're trying
I
to
usually
hit it
put
over?
I usually put a stick on the ground,
Gotcha.
or maybe have a rope
Yeah.
right down my target line.
Kind of do that.
A
I hit
club will
all
do
those
too.
alignment rods, but
Yeah,
something like that. when you
exactly right.
practice,
Exactly
That'd be a good way
right.
to do it. Even having like an alignment rod or something in the ground out here,
Correct.
further away would be a little better, probably closer to the distance of the net. So when you do hit, you can tell which way it started.
Absolutely.
Be good practice.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's
Yeah.
cool. I get that. I'm
Yeah.
down with that one for sure. That's about as straight as I can do it. From
Perfect.
Eyeballing.
Perfect. So here we go. We're going to try to have a ball that starts a little bit right.
And there's no pressure. There are thousands of people that are watching us right now, but
No
I'm
pressure.
sure you'll do just fine.
Here we go.
Feel like you did that okay?
It was
It curved
pretty
too
close.
much? All right, it's pretty close.
Pretty close.
That's a nice shot.
Yeah.
I think that one pushed in just a little bit. You can see where that's landed just right at the target.
Yeah.
That would be your ideal way to play.
Yeah.
Push,
Yeah.
curve them, but never cross the target.
Correct. Exactly right.
Think
Yep.
are you gonna curve the ball much this week?
Not
Or do you-
much, no. I mean, with when
Basically
you're at
the same
elevation, it doesn't curve as much. Wind doesn't touch it as much when it's a light breeze, but that's just from years of playing. So
Mhm.
I do like to work the ball though a little bit. For certain pins, when you start playing well, you feel like you have a little more ball control. I'm pretty good up to about a 6-iron,
Okay.
where I can work the ball pretty well. With the long stuff, they're just kind of low spin shots. So I mean, they're wherever they go, they go.
Same shot every time
Yeah,
with the
I
longer
just-
clubs. Well, that's
Mhm.
good advice. Like imagine, well, you see it in your students all the time. The ones who don't play a lot, not
Mhm.
really good, but they see or hear people on TV talk about curving it. I don't think that's a skill anyone under or over a 10 handicap should even be bothering to hit. It
Yeah.
should be same shot every time.
I agree.
You're kind of echoing that for anything longer than a 6-iron.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's great advice for anybody watching. That was a really nice shot by the way. That curved like this much
Yeah.
outside, so that was really good.
For an 8-iron, the ball shouldn't curve too much, I
Well,
would
it's
say.
a good demo that what your system is in your head you can do for one, and
True.
then it actually results in better shots. And you
Yeah.
can see up on the screen. This is your typical backswing. So this one's using. You might notice there are no sensors on there. That sounds interesting.
That
doesn't
does
it?
sound interesting.
But you've got 92 degrees of shoulder turn. The shoulder tilt or your thoracic spine's tilted 37 to the left.
Uh-huh.
Hips 10 to the left. Your hip turn's 47 on that one. I mean, that's just basically like how a guy who should be playing on the PGA Tour swings.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, good.
Now you started PGA Tour and all the other professional events or tours you play golf on, but what's maybe like one or two things you've learned since being a coach that's either helped your game or just that you didn't understand the average person might have had a problem with?
Yeah, I actually I realize how stressful it is to be a coach when your players aren't playing as well, or even when they're playing well. It's for me, I've just really enjoyed seeing people reach their goals.
Yep.
Maybe not all their goals, but some of their goals,
Mhm.
depending on the time frame or how long you've been working with them, and then really just enjoying the process with them because they want to get good at golf, just like I did when I was playing, every week, traveling from state to state or country to country. And, some kind of process is really important in terms of trying to be able to maybe draw the ball or maybe not to slice the ball anymore. There has to be things set there where the guys are working at it a little bit and then they know where their tendencies are coming from or, what do they have to do to make it better.
Yeah, it's a whole nother, I want you to say that right into that camera. Playing golf is not the same as teaching golf.
Correct. It is not.
You
It
have,
is not.
Unfortunately, people watch golf on TV, and Brandel Chambly is about to do a show with Chris Como.
Yeah.
My poor friend Chris. That's too bad. Where he was a former player, he's not a teacher. He's going to spout out a bunch of things that don't make any sense about how to play better golf.
Mhm.
I don't think people realize that as well as they should, that isn't the advice you should be, the source of gathering advice.
I agree.
Yeah. But it's a tough lesson to learn because it's hard to learn that lesson. You went from playing to teaching and probably didn't realize how hard that was, judging by your comments. And he just hasn't had that experience yet. So he doesn't have to teach.
Yeah, we'll see.
So I think, how about in your own game? You talked a little bit about closing your shoulders to help move your swing direction this way.
Yeah.
Is that something you did even before you started with us? Or?
Yeah, I mean, we called it elongated V's, so just kind of where the left arm or the lead arm was in space.
Okay.
It was, and then when we started learning about how the body worked, it was a lot of that too. So when the ground forces came out and just all the 3D motion capture and K-Vest and all those things came out, we wanted to see what our body was doing and what the ground was doing, or how our feet were moving, or how our hips were moving. So those things help, because I feel like the shoulders and the hips and some of those bigger muscles are kind of like your macro movements in golf, and then kind of what your arms and your wrists and your club face do is kind of like your micro movements, and those have to be synced up. I mean, I play a fade, not that I want to always play a fade, but my club path matches my club face. Where my arms are in space coming down matches my club face or my angle of attack. And
and that shows in your shots for sure. And while I think most people should just hit the ball very straight and have maybe a tiny bias towards drawing, because I think it's just easier to play golf that way. And most people come to us and they want that anyway. You don't have to play that way.
Correct.
You're really good at hitting just these little fades, it sounds like. So you go out there and you play like that. It's great. The people that come to see you, though, tend to let that slice or that little fade turn into more curve, and then too much spin loft, so the shots look like they're hit from a bunker, even though they're hit from a tee box. All that, I can tell you've had some experience.
Tons of driver bunker lessons saying,
right.
We need to hit this like a driver, not like a bunker shot.
You didn't know there was that many people with that disease, did you?
No, I did
not.
What
it is.
I did not.
It's like the plague of golf is spin loft. I don't know if you think of it that way yet, but that's like the truth. They hit with the face, most people on average hit with the face too open and the path moving some crazy divergent direction, spinning that thing.
Correct. I can't hit it very far that way.
Yeah, and you're doing the opposite when you say you spin the ball too little, if anything. Doesn't have enough spin loft on some of your bad shots. That's good. How about, so in your own game, you've practiced in a bay like this at home. Do you feel like, let me pose this question very differently than that. A lot of people think you can't get any better in a spot like this because it's not outside. I have no idea what you're going to say, but how would you answer?
I think you can be very good. I mean, I'm obviously working full time and still playing golf tournaments. I play golf maybe once a week. I come into work early, hit some balls. I think with the technology that we have, there's plenty of ways to get better. Be it distance control, using the distance icon there, just hitting greens from different distances. From a technical side, using the cameras, using the slow-mo. There's just an infinite amount of things. I mean, I think being able to just curve the ball a certain way can help a person play better golf, or just hitting the right distance with certain clubs, or being able to hit off, speed, full speed shots, hitting distances for distance control. There's so many things you can do in the bay, and I do it in here on a weekly basis.
Yeah, and I honestly didn't know what you'd say, but all of those things are why you would want to do this inside, because it's
controlled
easier
environment
to do too, faster. You're not wasting time. Like imagine going. You mentioned hitting shots and curving them one way. That you can do outside easily. Imagine hitting a shot saying, "Well, I want to hit this 5 yards shorter than the previous one," and you're outside hitting into a driving range. How do you do that? You don't. I mean, not real well. So this should be a better environment to help you go faster.
I personally believe you need a good balance between both, because I'll go outside and I'll hit on another monitor and I'll hit shots where I do a combine, or I'll hit different distances when there's wind, call it 15, 20 mile an hour India from the left, and you'd be amazed at how short the ball goes. I think in here you have a bubble, so you know exactly what things are doing, how far they're flying, exactly what your contact's like. But then you really need to be functional outside, being able to play elements, being able to play different grasses, different texture sand. And so the playing aspect is still just as important as, call it, the training aspect. And I would call this more of a training aspect.
And I echo those sentiments all the way. We sometimes get pigeonholed, GOLFTEC, of it's all hitting 6 irons into the screen over here. That's a part of it, because most people come in and that's the attention they need right away, but it isn't the only thing they need. They
I agree.
Be on the golf course, and be on the course like quick into your lesson plan with us.
Totally agree.
Any drills you're doing besides like putting clubs on the ground or an alignment rod?
For me, the biggest things for me are just making sure I have good balance in my feet and just making sure that this club, when I draw it, comes from the inside. Now, for me, I don't want the club getting too far behind my hands to draw it because I know I can do that and kind of get the face a little overactive, but I just kind of want to make sure that this club is always coming in from the inside. So what I'll do is I'll kind of get in there, I'll drop my right foot back, and then I'll just make sure that I kind of finish with that club face more square, and I know that that ball's curving more right to left based on how the path is versus the club face, where I'm not closing the club face a ton.
To twist it to roll.
Correct.
You're actually, it sounds like you're trying to do the opposite, which is not let it roll. Is that fair? So that's usually a misunderstanding by people sitting on the other side of that fancy camera right there. They don't know how to draw it. It's the difference between that path and face that make the ball curve.
Absolutely. I mean, if I need to have a ball really draw or really hook, of course, I just need to make sure that that club face closes down. But the variance of that is a lot usually larger because I'm trying to go around a tree or maybe put it back in play. But for me, I'm just, like I said, if I close my stance off, drop my right foot back, and I kind of hit some shots like that.
How far do you hit those?
I can hit it about full distance.
Okay. You were demonstrating like a short swing, so I don't know if that's how you hit them. Or
that's kind of my feel. So like I get a lot of feel by having little motions, just kind of feeling and sensing where my hands are in space and kind of what my body's doing through impact.
Can you hit one like that long of a swing and just make sure it draws like
Absolutely.
you're describing? So not even like a full shot.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people believe that they're not built to draw or just can't or you need to swing really hard. I mean, you're barely tapping that out there.
Yeah.
And I missed that shot. Let's do one more. I think I've got that launch monitor just too far away from me. But this shot will push and will draw.
Correct.
If it curves too much,
that
should work right there. If it curves too much, that's fine, but this is like a simple way to do it. Making sure your swing direction is out, club face is close to the path, but it's open to the target, so the ball pushed and curved too much.
Yeah.
If everybody who sliced knew how to just do that little tiny demo you did, golf would be a whole different world.
Yeah, absolutely. It's trying to make things that are really complicated really simple. So I mean, I think half swings and 3/4 swings are easier to repeat at early on in a stage when you're working on things. And then you have to rev it up eventually and hit it full speed and just see where you fall in that whole new motion.
Yeah, that's good advice, because really that demonstrated that you know what to do and you can do it, then you can start going harder. But
exactly.
You watch people all the time come in for like their practice sessions and just grabbing a driver, swinging 10 to the left, 10 down, and none of the balls draw, and they just keep going super fast that way. It's a horrible way to go through your golf life, unfortunately.
It's hard. It's hard when you just go ahead and swing 100% and expect a good result, because when you swing 100%, in my opinion, you're going to swing the way that your body has already been programmed to swing.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to work on something, or if you're taking lessons, we're trying to improve something, or maybe you have a goal of drawing the ball. You have to be able to program that in your body, saying, okay, this is how I want to swing a little more so now. So you have to pull back on the reins and not swing as hard.
A little bit, but then get back into it real quick.
Absolutely.
Good advice, Carlos. You're a smart man. Well, Colorado Open. Good luck this week. I'm sure it'll be fun to watch you play well. And then we'll see you tomorrow.